Hello and welcome to this meeting of the Planning and Development Council of the Town of Oakville. Mr. Clerk, do we have any regrets?
Yes, Mayor. Regrets from Councillor Longo.
Thank you. Councillor, are there any declarations of pecuniary interest? Mr. Clerk, I see none. Council, we have minutes of the regular session of the P&D session of Council for September 22nd to approve. We need a mover and seconder. Councillor Lishina and Councillor McNeese, thank you. Any objection? Mr. Clerk, there being none, the minutes are approved. We have a consent item. This is a notice of intention to designate 376 Chartwell Road. And is there a mover and seconder for the consent item? Councillor Giddings and Councillor McNeese, thank you. Any objection? There being none, that is carried. You have a confidential consent item. If we desire to go into camera, I'm going to slip the item down to the end of the public items. Councillor Haslett-Deal, is that your indication?
No, Mayor Burton, I think I can ask my question in the public realm if that's okay, but I don't think I need to go in camera.
All right. Ask away.
So it's for the CAO or the commissioner. I think the public understandably will have a great many questions once the revised provincial TOC proposal is released. And given we've been informed that the staff have been working on the TOC Technical Review Committee, and they've had early access to look at the confidential revised proposal, I'm asking, have they already started working on a comprehensive communication plan, which was similar in scope and effort to the one developed during the Glen Abbey file, to ensure all the residents of Oakville are well informed?
Through you, Mayor Bird, maybe I could start. No, we have not commenced developing a communications plan or strategy at this moment. This matter is not in our hands at this moment. Obviously, when circumstances change and they finally do submit or update us on what's coming to us, what we can provide in terms of background to the public, we'll address at that time.
So I guess my follow-up is, we have historically always had and taken great pride on fulsome information to the public about what we're struggling with. And depending on what that is, I totally understand it's not in the public realm yet. You have to wait till potentially it's in the public realm. But I do have a bit of a concern that the questions are going to come fast and furious. And so I'm asking from a proactive perspective, is there thought being put into how we will take a leadership role to ensure the public is informed?
Through you, Mayor, yes, we have strategized internally on how we're going to handle what is released to the public when we're able to do that. We're in the dark a little bit, not knowing what's coming our way, so you can only take that so far. But I think we will stick to the tradition of providing fulsome information the best we can.
Okay, I'll let the CAO, do you have any additional comment?
I was going to add to the Commissioner's comments to say that we have actually looked, as Michael has indicated, on what should be our next steps. And similar to what we had done when the last talk came out, we want to make sure that it's absolutely clear to the public this is a provincial initiative. We have no ability to actively make a decision on it. It is in the end their decision. So however we communicate needs to first send that message. And I would suggest this is very different than the Glen Abbey application. When the application was at the town was responsible for making a decision. Of course, it could have been appealed, but we were in the driver's seat in terms of making the decision. This is not the case with the provincial talk. It is their system. They've made it perfectly clear that we only are providing input. So we're going to be very careful in the communication to make sure that that is not confused.
So I appreciate that additional comment. However, the staff, the professional staff, did their due diligence on the original proposal. And so when could council and the public expect professional staff to identify if the new proposal has addressed the serious concerns they brought forward?
So it's our understanding from the province that once a submission is actually submitted to the town, we have 60 days to provide comments back to the province. I would suggest to you that that is probably a very limited amount of time for the amount of work that has to be done by our professional staff in order to get a full set of comments back to the province. So we will be looking at doing our best to get that to council. Council will have the opportunity to see that as it probably goes into the province. And council can also have the opportunity to add their comments onto it as well at that point in time.
So again, I appreciate that. When will the public have a chance to read a report? Will it be at the same time? Will that be a special council meeting? Do you need us to call a meeting in order to ensure the public receives a report that would comment on the proposal?
Through you, Mayor Burton, I would suggest that similar to what we had done when we had provided comments on the first application, that anyone who has been on the list in terms of the talk process, which is quite extensive already, we will ensure that they're aware that our comments are out there and available. We'll load them up onto the website as soon as they're available. You as councillors and all of council will certainly get notice of that. But we did not the last time hold a council meeting when our comments went out. The comments had gone out and later on council considered the matter separately. So we'll try and put those two pieces closer together. And depending on when the submission, if a council meeting works out well for that, then that's good. If not, we can always call through the mayor a special council meeting if we need to, so that council has an opportunity to provide whatever comments they would like to the province.
So again, thank you for that. Knowing that the 60 days will fly by, and we have only so many meetings before the end of the year, so is the anticipation we'd be able to resolve this if it's released by the end of the year?
Councillor, there's no certainty about when we're going to get it, and the 60 days starts when we do. And so you're asking us to forecast something that's harder to forecast than the weather. I can tell you that staff and I will be doing everything we can to make sure that everybody's as informed as possible.
So Mayor Burton, thank you for that, because what I'm hearing is that it might mirror what we've done early on in the TOC. And I'd suggest that we have a duty and a responsibility to the residents to be crystal clear, both, as you said, that it is a provincial decision, but also the magnitude of the decision on behalf of the future of Oakville. And so that's why I'm asking, are we preparing for a communication plan that is fulsome? And I'm hearing yes, or possibly.
Through you, Mayor Burton, yes, we are completely attuned to a communication plan. We are strategically looking at where we should go. I added the additional point that we want to make sure that it's absolutely clear to the public that this is a provincial program, that we have little to say. So yes would be the short answer.
Okay, thank you.
And Councillor Elgar.
Thank you very much, through Mayor Burton. I like what Janet's asking, but I guess I'm thinking we did OPA 70. Our technical professional staff said this is what we are doing. This is where we'll meet our numbers. Like, it's pretty specific. They did an excellent job. And I want to know from the CAO, was that the way the response will be coming back? Like, if they do not go back to our OPA 70 and verify that instead of coming up the TOC in that particular area, will staff then, they'll still stand by what they put in the OP initially? And so the public will start to understand of what the staff tried to do, realizing that we are not the province and we are merely children, but so that we can tell the residents what we have done and what our staff believed can be done?
Yes, Councillor.
That's the short and long answer. Yes, we will for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. My next question is how, from when we finally get this out to the public or to the staff, how long before we can get it to the public? How many days is it going to take? We've got 60 days to respond. We've got this little thing called Christmas coming along in December, and we're sitting now pretty well in the end of October, and I thought we would have had it by now. And do we have any indication it's still going to happen in October?
Councillor, to your first question, we will publish on our website the province's proposal as soon as the province allows us to make it public. To your
Okay.
second question.
And then we will be able to show what we had in OPA 70 that would have addressed all the concerns that we worked so hard on, or the staff worked so hard on?
OPA 70 is already on our website.
If I could add, Mayor Burton, we'll use OPA 70 as you had a professional recommendation from staff on what we felt Midtown should develop as, and that will be the benchmark in which we'll be looking at the TALK program. So our comments, the professional comments that you will see, will definitely highlight the differences between OPA 70 and the rationale for that and why the TALK does or does not meet those requirements. At this point, we don't know what's in the TALK.
I thank you so much for that. That's what I really wanted to hear. Thank you.
So, Councillor, there's another element to this story that keeps getting left out, and that is that the district applicant has an active appeal at the Ontario Land Tribunal, the old OMB. And if it weren't doing the TOC, if district was not doing the TOC with the province, it would be at the OMB. And at the OMB, its application would be compared to the old official plan, not OPA 70. So it's not as black and white as somebody might think from the way you framed your question.
Thank you.
Councillor Hazlitt-Thiel for a second time.
So through you, Mayor Burton, thank you for reminding us that there is another path, and that is the OLT, and that a stellar legal team has the potential to take on that appeal and deliver to the residents of Oakville a development that makes sense.
Thank you, Councillor. Can I ask you two for the indicated public motion for the confidential consent item number 6, that the confidential report from the legal department titled Confidential Transit-Oriented Community TOC Update be received? That's a yes. Thank you. And Councillor Elgar, thank you. Any objection from anyone else? There's no objection, so that carries. Thank you, both of you. Now, that brings us to our 3 public hearing items, and the way public meeting reports work in planning is we have a presentation of the application, and the public and council members who are interested can ask questions, and no decision is made, and the questions and the points and concerns raised are taken away by our planning staff and included in their analysis and shows up later in their recommendation report, which can be a couple of months from now. And with that, I would like to call 7.1, the official plan amendment and zoning bylaw amendment for 1320 Wheat Boom Drive. And we have our staff, Colin Westerhoff, our senior planner, he's here for questions, and Stephanie Mertich from MHBC Planning, who's representing the owner for 1320 Wheat Boom Drive, has a PowerPoint presentation, which is up on the screen. And Stephanie, you have the floor.
Thank you, and good evening, members of the public, council, and staff. My name is Stephanie. I'm just going to move this one second. My name is Stephanie Murdich, and I'm a registered professional planner with MHBC Planning. I'm here tonight on behalf of Valgo, the developer, the owners for 1320 Wheat Boom Drive in Oakville. I will provide a brief presentation of the application, and then I'm happy to hear from anyone on questions or comments on the application, and we look forward to the opportunity to continue working with staff through this process. So I'll just provide a bit of background on the location of the site. So the address of the site is 1320 Wheat Boom. It is in the Joshua Creek subdivision. It's also known as Block 297. The site has frontage. It's a bit of a unique location. It has frontage on 3 public streets, Wheat Boom Drive, as well as Meadow Ridge Drive at the corner, and then it also has frontage on Perkins Way. I did just want to note the location at the intersection. Kitty corner opposite will be the future Wheat Boom Park, and the pink block here noted as future public school is actually the recently opened Harvest Oak Public School. Overall, the site is within walking distance of the Dundas Street East corridor, which has existing transit service and is planned for future bus rapid transit. And overall, you can see the Dundas urban core within walking distance of the site as well. This is the preliminary concept plan that we've submitted with the application. The intention of the application is for the development of 3 blocks of back-to-back stacked townhouses. The buildings will be 4 stories. There are 3 separate buildings. Building A, Building B, both have public street frontage. They're the larger of the 3 buildings with 24 units each. And then Building C at the back is a 12-unit building, so about half the size of Building A and B. The majority of the parking is proposed to be provided underground at a rate of approximately 2 spaces per unit. There are approximately 7 surface spaces we're contemplating right now, and the intention really for those would be visitor and potentially barrier-free spaces as well. I would just note that through the virtual public meeting that we had in May, there were comments received about things like snow storage, pedestrian connections, garbage collection, and just the overall function of the site. So those are things that we have looked at prior to the submission of the application. Generally, there's 60 units total, and the product type is fairly similar to what exists in the surrounding neighborhood. And I would just note the 4-story building height as well. In terms of the policy framework, so the subject lands are designated urban area in the region official plan, and they're also identified as a neighborhood center area in the North Oakville East secondary plan. So for the application, we do require an official plan amendment, and that's to amend the North Oakville East secondary plan to allow stacked townhouses as a permitted use on the lands. At this point, there is a policy that does require a mixed use or non-residential component. Residential uses are permitted. However, there is that requirement for a commercial use as well. In terms of the zoning bylaw, right now the lands are zoned neighborhood center with special provision 98, and they also have a holding provision on the lands. The purpose of the amendment is to permit the stacked townhouses as a permitted use, and a couple of site-specific modifications, including yard encroachments, and that's really to deal with the built form of the building, things like exterior stairways, balconies, and porches that would encroach beyond the setbacks, and then to decrease the minimum height of the 1st story to allow for residential uses. Just some additional information. We just wanted to provide some precedent images of the pedestrian experience of what this could look like along the public realm, as well as the bottom left image shows the design of the site. The underground parking ramp is really located underneath Building C, and it would be at a lower elevation tucked underneath the building to provide access to the underground parking. And again, this image just shows on the right-hand side, shows the 3 street frontages, Meadow Ridge and Wheat Boom being the primary roads in this location, and Perkins Way, which has some street townhouses there to the south. And there is also a natural heritage corridor immediately to the east of the site. Public engagement, as I mentioned, we did host a virtual public information meeting in May of this year. We had a couple of residents attend with some comments and questions, as well as the counselors. Thank you for your participation in that meeting. As I mentioned, there were some general questions on more what I would call site plan related matters like waste collection, pedestrian connections, snow removal. So we did our best to take a look at those early on prior to submitting our application. Building height of the proposed townhouses, I would say that was more really just a question and understanding what the design of those would look like and how they would function. So they are stacked back-to-back units, so they would have 2 units, one on top of each other. The overall height is 4 stories, approximately 16 meters in height. In terms of shadows, it was really a question asked by some of the residents. There was no requirement at the town for a shadow study given the proposed height of 4 stories. I would just note as well, the site currently has a height permission of 6 stories, so we're not exceeding that permitted height. Questions regarding traffic access parking. We did take a look at that. We specifically took a look at the on-street parking in the neighborhood as well. There was an on-street parking plan completed with the subdivision. And at this present time, our application is only proposing the removal of 1 parking space on the street. I think there's about 7 total right now. And that's really just to allow the access out to Wheatboom. And then just one final comment there, the Building A elevation, we did take another look at that, just how it would actually interface with the corner facade. In conclusion, it's our opinion that the applications are consistent with the provincial planning statement and that they implement the objectives and conform to the OPs. Overall, it's our opinion that the proposed applications support the town's direction, including the North Oakville secondary plan. And what we're trying to do with these applications is really bring housing into the neighborhood that will support the range and mix of housing options with the back-to-back stack product. And the lands are well located for residential uses, given the surrounding community, planned parks, recently opened schools, commercial uses within walking distance, as well as existing and planned public transit. That's all for my presentation, but I'm happy to answer any questions, take any comments, and we look forward to continuing to work with staff through the application process.
Thank you for your presentation. Councillor Adams, your question?
Thank you very much for the presentation. Thank you for the information. I've got a couple of questions for you. I wonder if you'd help clarify from your presentation. You didn't really speak to the issue of the lack of non-residential use on the site, and it's been a concern that's been raised by a number of people. Can you illuminate that issue a little bit better about why you're not including any retail within the development?
Through the mayor to the councillor, sure. I can speak to it a little bit. We do have I would just say we have a commercial market needs study that was submitted as part of the application, which really looks at the existing retail in the area as well as planned retail in the area. The study generally concluded that there is sufficient commercial and existing retail in the area to support the neighborhood. That being said, the study is still currently underway by staff and it is being peer reviewed. So we continue to have discussions with staff on that report. I think the other thing I would just suggest is it's also partly the current market conditions as well. So in terms of a built form, the stacked back-to-back product is a more, what I would call attainable housing form. So that's really the interest of the owner at this point to move forward with a residential attainable product.
Okay, I'm sure our staff will include that particular issue in their report when it comes back. There were a number of issues that were raised previously in our discussions, and they've included the snow storage, the locations of the waste management spots within the site. I raised the issue of bicycle parking as part of it. I wondered if you could show us in more detail how you responded to those 3 questions from the earlier discussions we had.
Sure. Through the mayor to the councillor, perhaps it'd be possible to just get the concept plan back on the screen. I think that would be the easiest way to just share those details. Just one of the earlier slides, just bear with me. Sorry. Thanks. Oh, I don't know what's happening with this. Sorry. What I'll speak to, though, is I think the biggest thing we looked at that we took back from the neighborhood meeting was overall pedestrian connections into and out of the site. And that would include things like how do pedestrians access from the underground parking to their units? How do they access from their units to the garbage locations? So for example, if you look in front of building C right now, there are 3 Molochs in that location. As we get into the detailed site plan design, there will be a pedestrian connection in that location. We did have some material included with the application that actually evaluated the distance from each unit to those to make sure that it was within a reasonable walking distance. Snow storage will generally be in the landscaped areas. Again, these are things that will be detailed a little bit more at the site plan stage, but we did look at where the best locations are for those right now to make sure that they're feasible when we get into detailed design. I would also suggest, and I don't have it in my presentation, I apologize, but the landscape plan that was submitted does include more detail on those items as well.
Okay, and the bicycle parking?
Bicycle parking, I can confirm, is shown. I don't know if it's shown on this exact plan, but it is intended to be provided at the rate required in the zoning bylaw.
The real question is, I know it'll be provided, the question is it appropriately located on the site and is it accessible? Or is it tucked away in the bottom of the underground parking in a way that's difficult to get at?
Through the mayor to the councilor, I can confirm that it'll be provided on site, like at grade. It won't be, there may be some additional long-term parking provided in the underground, but there will be a sufficient amount of the bicycle racks on the surface level as well.
Okay. Then I'm going to ask you, the other question that came up in the discussions was the treatment of the corner. You said that it was improved, and from the elevations that I saw, it looked like you basically put a window on the corner. Is that the treatment change that happened?
Through the mayor to the councilor, I believe I'll be honest, I don't think the renders were updated since the initial presentation, so I would recommend looking through to the architectural package that would show the elevations as well. But there were material treatments made as well as additional windows added at that corner.
Okay, I would look forward to seeing that information because it wasn't clear to me from the materials that were presented today. And then the last question I have for you is, and this didn't come up earlier, but it's come to my attention in some other sites where visitor parking has become paid parking. Is there any expectation that this site would take the visitor parking spots that are at the surface and make them paid?
Through the mayor to the councilor, I'm not aware of that being the intention in this case. So no, not at this point.
And would there be any objections if there was an inclusion within the requirements that they be maintained as free visitor parking?
Through the mayor to the councilor, I don't see any concerns with that.
Okay. Thanks very much for your time.
Thanks.
Councillor Haslett-Deal.
I just wanted to ask about visitor parking. It seems like a small number for the number of units that you're proposing, and I'm wondering about the street availability for parking.
Through the mayor to the councilor, I think it's an important question, and it is something that we've heard both from staff and the public about the importance of parking in this area. What I would suggest is the bylaw requires 1 space per unit. The developers have gone much further than that. We're actually providing 2 spaces per unit in terms of designated unit parking. So in terms of visitor parking, I can get that exact number, but what I would suggest is there is also on-street parking in this location. There are 3 public street frontages, so it is a bit of a unique situation. There's ample visitor parking on street as well, but we will make sure that there's visitor parking on site. So I guess all that to suggest there's really double the amount of residential parking as well as dedicated visitor parking on site and on-street parking in this location.
Well, I'll look for staff to just confirm that when they come back with a final, just because we end up with street permits and people being able to take someone's space, and so I'm sure the Councillor Adams will cover that.
Councillor Knoll.
Thank you, Worship. Quick question on, in respect to the redesignation as residential and with no commercial space. Where's the next closest commercial convenience plaza?
Through the mayor to the councillor, at this point, the most closest walking commercial would be planned in the area of the Dundas corridor. I'd have to just put up a location map, but I believe it's about a 15-minute walk to the nearest existing commercial.
Is it on which side of Dundas is it on? Is it on the your side or is it on the north side, south side?
The south side.
South side?
sorry, through the mayor to the councilor, I would just add there is also additional commercial planned in the area, so there's a difference in, at this point, that we have to evaluate of both the existing commercial and then the future.
But
planned
neighborhood
residential.
commercial, as in convenience stores, pizza shops, that sort of thing?
I would say that's important. I think the commercial study looks at all types of commercial, so it looks at large format retail as well as smaller.
Yeah, I know, I
neighborhood
understand. I'm just
convenience
concerned.
retail.
We've had communities that have developed in the community that have been completely devoid of any kind of retail opportunities for small scale retail. Get a loaf of bread, buy some bags of milk, that kind of thing. And I'm just concerned that eliminating that opportunity here would be problematic. So I'm just curious where that, you're saying is a 15-minute walk from this location to the next nearest convenience commercial opportunity?
Definitely within that amount. I'd have to look at, I'm just guesstimating, but I'd have to look at an exact dimension. But there is there is commercial planned along the Dundas corridor, which is about a 6 to 8 minute walk from the site.
Right.
It's a little bit tricky to estimate an exact distance when there's obviously areas that are still currently being constructed.
Okay.
But there is commercial within a 15-minute walk.
Okay, I'll be looking for the commercial
look at that.
impact studies when that's available. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor. I don't see any more questions. I'll look for a mover and seconder to receive the information and ask staff to consider such comments as has been offered tonight. Councillor Adams?
I give you the motion. I just want to make sure that staff are including the issues. I know that within page 48 and 49 of the agenda tonight, they've included public and council comments and concerns, and I want to make sure that they've captured appropriately the comments that have been made tonight, as well as the comments that were made at the public information meeting previously. I know you've included here the issue of the appropriateness of the removal of the non-residential mixed-use requirements from a neighborhood activity node, and I think that's capturing this issue of the non-res use being important to the community, and has been mentioned a few times tonight as well as by public input. And so I definitely want to see the results of that study. The other issues that I think were raised were the issues of the snow storage locations, the appropriateness of the waste management locations on site, the appropriateness and level of bicycle parking. I would like to see staff report back on the issue of ensuring that visitor parking remains unpaid on these medium and high density sites. The corner treatment to ensure that it's whatever it ends up being, whether it's residential or a commercial use, that it recognizes the fact that it's an entry point to the community or it's a focal point for this particular neighborhood. And finally, the appropriateness of the parking levels on the site.
So thank you, Councillor. I'll look for a second for that. Councillor Lischina, thank you for that. And I'm glad to hear you raise the issue of, is it appropriate to do away with a neighborhood center? Because that was kind of the core idea of the design of North Oakville. So
And I would say that in my opinion, there really isn't any residential occurring in any substantial way on the north side of Dundas. Commercial on the north side of Dundas.
Yeah, sort of the, we know what you meant. So that's been moved. Is there any objection? Mr. Clerk, there being no objection, that carries. And that brings us to 7.2. Thank you very much, Stephanie. This is for 210 Burnham Thorpe Road East. Again, Colin Westerhoff is here if we have questions for staff. And Erica Lindsay from Corsiac Urban Planning, representing the applicant, has a PowerPoint presentation. And Ms. Lindsay, welcome. We look forward to your presentation. And you've found the button to lower the desk. Good for you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Erica Lindsay, and I'm a junior planner with Corsiac Urban Planning. I'm here today on behalf of Argo Oakville Woods Corporation to present on the proposed development municipally described as 210 Burnham Thorpe Road East. The subject property is located on the south side of Burnham Thorpe Road East between 6th Line and Trafalgar Road. Formerly, the property consisted of agricultural industrial uses and an associated residence, but is now vacant. The property is rectangular in shape, save for non-participating properties in the northwest corner, and is approximately 7.26 hectares in size. A portion of the woodlot is situated in the southern part of the site. The proposed development includes a total of 221 residential dwelling units consisting of 86 back-to-back townhouses, 21 rear lane townhouses, 102 street townhouses, and 12 single detached homes. A 0.3 hectare village square is proposed in the eastern central section of the site. The space will provide recreational opportunities and serve as a gathering place for the community. The development also includes a 1.08 hectares dedicated to the natural heritage system, contributing to the preservation of natural features and the integration of open space within the community. As shown in the NOSP land use plan, the subject lands are designated as neighborhood area and natural heritage system area with a village square. The North Oakville Master Plan outlines the general land use designations within the NOSP and identifies the subject lands as general urban area, natural heritage system, and village square. The proposed development supports these designations for several key reasons. It helps complete Neighborhood 9 by adding a mix of housing types, finalizing the road network, and introducing a village square that provides a non-residential use, encouraging social interaction and a strong sense of place. The village square meets the requirements outlined in the NOSP, and the proposed residential types and densities are consistent with the plan. The natural heritage system is protected through the preservation of designated NHS lands, the application of appropriate buffers, and the inclusion of recreational features. Overall, the development is generally consistent with the North Oakville East Master Plan. The subject lands are currently zoned as future development. According to Section 713 of the zoning bylaw 2009-189, only uses that legally existed on the date the bylaw came into effect are permitted, and the development of new buildings and structures is not allowed. Therefore, a zoning bylaw amendment is required to permit the proposed development. The application seeks to rezone the lands to site-specific neighborhood center, site-specific general urban park, and natural heritage system. As discussed, the proposed development is 7.26 hectares, comprising residential, village square, and NHS uses, all in alignment with the NOSP. 221 units are proposed. The natural heritage system will be preserved through one designated NHS block, totaling 1.08 hectares. Access to the development will be provided via Burnhamthorpe Road East via Street B. Street A, Settlers Road, connects to the existing Mattamy Petgore residential development on the west. Additional access to surrounding residential subdivisions is proposed per the NOSP. This slide shows the pedestrian circulation plan, which is included in our submission. The proposed development promotes sustainability through a compact grid street layout that reduces travel distances and supports multiple transportation options. This design enhances walkability, allowing residents to easily access nearby amenities and public spaces. The community features one village square and a natural heritage system with a major trail system, helping to connect the built and natural environments. The site is located along Burnhamthorpe Road East, which includes dedicated bike lanes. There is also potential for future transit stops along Burnhamthorpe Road East and Street A, Settler Road, further improving accessibility and supporting active transportation choices. A public information meeting for the proposal was held virtually via Microsoft Teams on March 18th, 2025 from 6:30 to 7:30. The meeting was attended by 6 members of the public, 5 town staff, 2 councilors, and representatives from Argo Oakville Woods Corporation. The comments raised by attendees and responses were as follows. A councilor was interested in the overview of what the parking would look like. Visitor parking is provided in front of the rear lane townhouses along the street. As we work towards detailed design submission, we will work on pairing the driveways to make sure we maximize the ability for on-street parking. A parking plan is included in the submission. Moreover, a councilor was interested in the development of small neighborhood parks within the area. There's a small village square on the subject lands that is 0.3 hectares in size. There's also a neighborhood park and elementary school planned in the west. In the subdivision directly east of 6th Line. A councilor was interested in whether the townhomes on Burnhamthorpe Road East include a commercial first floor. At this time, the townhomes fronting Burnhamthorpe Road East are planned to be purely residential. Finally, a councillor was interested in whether there would be a walkway which connects the west side of the subject lands to the development on the west. A walkway was added along the east boundary of the subject lands to allow for pedestrian connectivity between this neighborhood and the future Trafalgar urban core to the west, where the lands have not yet been developed. There is no walkway proposed along the west boundary of the subject property because the adjacent site to the west has already been constructed with no opportunity for connections. In conclusion, the proposed development aligns with the relevant planning policies and represents a logical continuation of residential growth in the area. It introduces a range of residential building types, including back-to-back townhouses, rear lane townhouses, street townhouses, and single detached homes. A variety of missing middle unit types and sizes are provided to accommodate households at different life stages. The development contributes to meeting the minimum density targets established by the region and the town and is consistent with the land use designations identified for the site. The proposed street network and compact layout support transit accessibility and active transportation through walkable connections and future transit integration. The natural heritage system is protected through dedicated open space, buffers, and trail connections. A 0.3 hectare village square is also included, offering recreational opportunities and fostering community gathering. Overall, the proposal supports the completion of Neighborhood 9 and contributes to a complete community. And that's all for my presentation. I'm open to answering any questions. Thank you, or comments.
Well, thank you very much for your presentation. Councillor Shia has questions for you. Councillor Shia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for the presentation and information. I still have the question regarding the visiting parking. So during the report, you say they will be submit the details later. And do you have any idea about how, so you want to maximum the ability for on-street parking. So how many numbers do you have in mind?
Right. So in our parking plan that we submitted, there are 56 on-street parking spaces. That's for 221 residential units. Yeah, so our parking plan includes that number and has, but again, through detailed design, this number could change.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Councillor. Thank you very much, Erica.
Thank you.
Council, we need a mover and seconder to receive the information and the comments that provided by Council. Councillor Nanda, Councillor Shia, thank you. Any objection? Mr. Clerk, there being none, that carries. And that allows us to go to 7.3. And this is the application for official plan amendment and zoning bylaw amendment at 3135 Lakeshore Road West. Brian O'Hare, our planner, is in person for questions, and Stefan Stachou from MHBC Planning, representing the owner, has a PowerPoint presentation. And Stefan, you have the floor, and we're all ears.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, members of the public and councillors. My name is Stefan Stachou. I'm an associate with MHBC Planning. We're the land use planning consultants representing the owner of the site and coordinating this development application on their behalf. We've been working diligently with town staff to ensure that the proposal is up to par with the design standards encouraged by the town. Discussions are ongoing. Therefore, further design tweaks are expected as we proceed through the development application process. Not sure if this is full screen, but it would be the next slide. Thank you. So the subject site is located at 3135 Lakeshore Road West within the Bronte neighborhood of the town of Oakville, along the west side of Lakeshore Road West, just south of Strathcona Avenue and approximately 300 meters west of the Lake Ontario waterfront. The site is approximately 1,237 square meters in size, which is approximately 0.12 hectares, and has 30 meters of frontage onto Lakeshore Road West. The site is currently vacant. However, it previously contained commercial uses in the form of various auto body shops from 1965 to 2014. The previous building was demolished in 2021, and the site has been vacant since. The surrounding area consists predominantly of low-density residential uses in the form of single and semi-detached dwellings, as well as an approved development proposal to the south for similar building typologies. Next slide, please. So the proposed development will provide 4 3-story townhouse units fronting onto Lakeshore Road West, containing a total gross floor area of 1,205 square meters, which is approximately 12,970 square feet. This represents 301 square meters per townhouse unit, resulting in a total floor space index or density of 0.97. Each unit will contain 2 parking spaces, with one located on each proposed driveway and the other located within each built-in garage. Each proposed unit will have their own backyard, which both residents and visitors can access through a soft landscape pathway along the north side of the building, which then extends along the rear property line. There's also an access to the southwest as well. The proposed development will maintain a minimum front yard setback of 5.6 meters to the property line along Lakeshore Road West, with an additional 2.9 meters of road allowance dedicated to Halton Region, and will provide a rear yard setback of 7.8 meters and side yard setbacks of 3.1 or 3.7 meters to the north and 2.1 meters to the south. Next slide, please. So we thought it would be a good idea to show how the roof plan, and illustrate the difference between the active amenity space on the roof versus the green roof component. So we want to make it clear that the green roof area is intended to be accessed for maintenance purposes only and not to be used as amenity space. Next slide, please. Just a quick overview of the land use and zoning. So the development on the subject site is required to conform to Halton Region OP and the Town OP, and the site is designated as urban area on map 1 of the region's official plan, which supports growth within a compact built form that is supportive of existing public transit facilities and the creation of a complete community. Additionally, the site is designated low-density residential on Schedule F of the town's official plan, which encourages the protection and maintenance of the neighborhood character through built form, including scale, height, massing, and architectural character. Next slide, please. The site is zoned residential low zone within the, in effect, Town of Oakville zoning bylaw, which permits a range of low-density residential, commercial, and institutional uses. Next slide. So in terms of the proposed climate change response, the proposal will feature a number of proposed new trees and shrubs in addition to the trees and other soft landscaping features that already exist on the site. Hard landscaping will be provided within the site's front yard, primarily for the purpose of the driveways and pedestrian paths that will connect to the public sidewalk along Lakeshore. We are in discussions with town staff to potentially reduce the level of hardscaping in the front yard and promote further soft landscaping. So as mentioned, the green roofs will be utilized to reduce urban heat, improve energy efficiency, and manage stormwater. The proposed driveways and pedestrian paths on site will be provided using permeable paving, which, if implemented, will allow water to pass through the surface and reduce the overall stormwater runoff on site. Next slide, please. So, as required by town staff, a public information meeting was held on April 9th, 2025, where we presented the proposed development prior to making our first submission, and residents had a chance to provide their comments. We recorded detailed notes during the meeting and provided a list of the main concerns made by the residents, which included concerns with overall building height and the rooftop appearing as a 4th story. Our response indicated that the building height of 3 stories complies with the zoning definitions, and the rooftop use / stairwell design are unobtrusive. There were concerns about privacy impacts to the north and west neighbors through the rooftops and the windows. Our response was that privacy will be addressed through fencing, landscape screening, and design refinement to limit overlook. The other concern that was brought up more frequently was the lack of on-street parking and need for visitor parking. We noted that the proposal provides parking in full compliance with zoning, and the traffic study confirms that the proposal will have negligible impact on the surrounding road network. Additionally, there were questions about soil contamination from the previous garage use. We did conduct environmental studies to confirm that the site was safe. There were safe site conditions for construction. There were actually two separate phase 1 and phase 2 environmental reports that were submitted and available online. So the maintenance of the rooftop green space and potential for added structures was another concern. And our response was that the design will include low maintenance landscaping and limit additional built elements to reduce the height impact. Next slide, please. So in conclusion, the proposal represents an opportunity to enhance Oakville's urban fabric through thoughtful design, environmental responsibility, and meaningful community integration. As noted previously, we have been doing our best to align our proposed design and site layout with the town's suggestions and design a building that is in accordance with the urban design policies and town's official plan and guidelines. And we look forward to continue working with the town and region and community to further enhance the proposal.
Thank you very much for the presentation.
Thank you.
Your questions are coming from the councillors of that area. First, Councillor O'Meara.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to say thank you for the green elements you put in here, permeable paving and green roof. We often criticize, but we don't compliment. So thank you very much for adding those in. I think it's important. On the the south exit, the south pathway to the backyards, the one that borders the town's little garden trail, will there be a separation there? Will there be a fence line that delineates the town property from your property?
Thank you, Councillor. Through the mayor to the councillor, yes, there will be just lift this mic up just a bit. There will be a separation distance of 1.5 meters, and there will be fencing in addition to trees as well along that side of the property.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And then just my last comment to staff would be, can we look at how we minimize road cuts onto Lakeshore Road? This is, it's going to be a tough one here with 4 driveways coming onto Lakeshore and the traffic in what is a 2-lane highway. So if staff can add that to their list to look at, I would be appreciative. But otherwise than that, I think the proposal looks really good. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor McNeese.
Thank you, through your worship. I'll echo Councillor O'Meara's compliments on the green features and the permeable paving, and that's all great to see. A couple of questions. Has your design changed at all since you received that public feedback back in April?
So through the mayor to the councillor, it has changed slightly. We're now looking at actually reducing the amount of hardscaping in the front yard, potentially revisiting the incorporation of those stepped paths and seeing how we can include something that's more permeable in the front yard. In terms of other design elements, we did have a discussion with town staff, and we're revisiting other, more architectural components that will be brought forward to town staff, and we're basically working directly with the planners and with urban design to come to something that we can both agree on. So to answer your question, there have been some slight changes. We're continuing to explore different ways of addressing the residents' comments, but that's something that will continue through further discussions.
Okay, and I would agree with Councillor Mayor about the level of curb cuts along there. I think we even have policy for Lakeshore Road to keep it as more of a promenade, sort of historic type of roadway. So if there's anything you can do there. And the other challenge you face is when you have that inline parking, the person in the garage needs out. Now the person behind them, usually on residential streets, pulls into the street while that person gets out. That's not going to work on Lakeshore Road, obviously. So that's gonna pose some challenges, having so many driveways with the inline parking and no visitor parking on site, right? I mean, I didn't see any spots for visitor, and I guess they'd have to go park on one of the residential streets behind. Is that the intention for visitor parking, or?
For visitor parking, the intention was essentially one parking space, if available, on the site, on the driveway. That would be visitor parking. Of course, we understand that that's not always going to be the case, and there are going to be more visitors than two on the site. So it's something that we're taking a closer look at with our traffic engineer as well. And we're kind of doing our best to address that given the constraints on the site, and trying to make livable units and sort of work with what we have on site.
And I believe these are 3,000 square foot, 3-bedroom units?
Yes.
Yeah, so I mean, I sort of find it hard to believe that it's going to be a one-car family that's attracted to these units, just the reality of things and where we're at with transit and stuff. So I could see some challenges there. A question that's probably more for staff, and I don't know if we have any, it's a bit of a transportation question, but so I saw that you have a 5.6 meter setback on the front. I believe in this section is where we're hoping to extend a multi-use path beside the sidewalk that stops around Cudmore, around the Cudmore property, and extend that to our new Bronte streetscape. This is part of the gap on the north side. So I just, and I don't expect you have the answer, but I don't know who we have on staff over there, but if staff could look in to ensure that we will have adequate right-of-way for the extension, which I believe is in the transportation, it's outlined in the transportation master plan. Just don't want you guys kind of building right to the lot line when we may need it in the future, if it's not already allocated. I'm not sure if that 5.6 meters is enough. Okay, I think we're good on that one, right?
Yeah, you got it. Through you, Mayor Burton, I can help answer the councillor's question. Okay. So for these units in particular, because there are fewer than 11 units, there is no opportunity for a future site plan application where these sort of conveyances and road allowances would be secured through site plan agreement. So in this case, through staff's diligent review, our transportation engineering staff, they will ensure that there's adequate separation between the front faces of the dwellings to the right of way, and that the land gets conveyed to the town free and clear of all encumbrances, and that there is that opportunity for that mixed use path, which is going to be part of the future public right of way. Okay. So it will be looked at through future, as part of this OPA ZBA application, through detailed transportation engineering staff.
Okay, thank you for that. And another thing we've heard, and you may have heard it through the consultation, is around sort of neighborhood character there. On your side of Lakeshore, it's predominantly quite modest 1-2-story dwellings, and then you're getting into a medium density residential complex. Is that something it's a style-wise, I think it's a departure from what's in the neighborhood. Is that something you're looking into to sort of soften the massing a little bit? I mean, I know you've stepped back on the front, but particularly on the side, which has a park frontage and things like there are walkway frontage, it does look a little extreme on the side there, and I think we heard some feedback on that. So is that part of the architectural softening you're looking at? Or?
Through the mayor to the councillor, yes. Yes, it is. We do realize that this is in an area that's surrounded predominantly by two-story units. However, I will point out that it is quite unique in a sense that it is right at the cuff of that neighborhood and fronting onto Lakeshore, which is unique from the rest of the subdivision. We have provided mitigations for overlook on the rooftop. We're exploring different ways of locating those barriers to prevent overlook. In terms of softening the massing along the south side or the park or along the north side. That's not something that has that's not something that's been explored in detail. However, it is something that we're continuing to take a look at. We do feel that the step backs that we've provided to this point, especially to the front and the back, do address the I guess the issue of overlook and impact on massing. However, we are continuing to take a look at softening that massing along the south side as well.
Okay, and then just a question over to staff. I believe the current zoning does allow for commercial institutional. I mean, as it used to have a commercial use, and just north of it, our previous conversation, in talking about neighborhood commercial, which takes many different shapes and forms. Do we need a commercial assessment of any kind to determine if it would be appropriate or more appropriate to have some sort of commercial use there?
Yep, through you, Mayor Burton, to the councilor's question. There was that previous automobile repair facility use on the site for many years. The site is zoned RL3-0, which does allow for specific home occupation uses. And I'm not sure of the history from when it was first constructed in the 1960s, but the zoning of the land itself was never updated to reflect the uses that were on that site for many decades. Within RL3, there is, again, like the home use occupations permitted, but it is primarily a low-density residential zone, which you'd see across many stable residential neighborhoods in the town that don't really have a traditional commercial component to them, like a live work. They're more for single detached, stable residential neighborhoods. So there was no need for a market study to be conducted as part of the pre-application consultation that was done with town staff prior to the submission. Based on commercial opportunities within Bronte Village, based on the current zoning of the lot, we thought it wasn't a necessary recommendation to do so at that time. And based on the proposal as it is, commercial would not be a required component to that development.
Okay, so the OPA amendment would be medium residential, but not that commercial institutional option if you got a home-based business. Is that correct?
Yep, through you, Mayor Burton. The RM zoning category also does provide for those home occupation uses as well. It's to a different extent as they would be for a low-density residential zone, such as an RL 1, 2, 3 sort of provision. But there still are opportunities for home occupations based in a medium-density residential zone as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and just a final question to the applicant. We're often sort of getting pressure or encouraging ADU, accessory dwelling units. Is this the type of project where you might design, one of those into it to, I guess have different price points, or, I realize you end up usually with some parking concerns when you do that, but is that part of the plan that there's, a basement unit or something like that as part of these?
Through the mayor to the councillor, are you referring to accessory units? Was that the question?
Yeah, which can be internal as well, right? So.
Right. It's not something that has come up in discussions with town staff. The discussions that have happened up until now have been more focused on trying to come to an agreement on an appropriate design. In terms of the tenure, they will be freehold townhomes. However, we have not yet explored, the potential for accessory units or basement dwelling units, but that's something that we can take a look at further on.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Staff, based on what we're hearing tonight, I hope you'll examine and maybe report back on whether this is just a tad too much. Maybe the ambition here has reached overdevelopment. I'm looking at the parking issues and some of the other aspects of this, and I'm wondering if we're crowding a little more on this land than might fit. I need a mover and seconder for the agenda's motion to receive and consider, and that I'm taking from Councillor McNeese and Councillor O'Meara. Thank you both. Is there any objection? Mr. Clerk, there being no objection, that is carried. And Stefan, thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you, you too. Council, that brings us to our discussion item, the 8.1, the recommendation report. This being the town-initiated official plan amendment 73, which has been undertaken in order to conform with the new provincial policy statement, or the provincial planning statement, excuse me, they've changed the word slightly. And we have a presentation from Carly Dodds that we're all looking forward to now. Cool. Ms. Dodds, we're ready when you are.
Thank you, Mayor Burton and members of council. The purpose of this report and presentation is to introduce the recommended official plan amendment 73 to implement the results of a scoped provincial consistency review and seek council's adoption of the amendment. The report is item 8.1 on tonight's agenda. As discussed at the statutory public meeting last month, there have been sweeping changes to Ontario's legislation and planning framework since the initiation of the town's official plan review in 2015. Highlighted on this slide are some of the revised and/or new provincial plans and legislation which staff have responded to. It is the role of the municipality to ensure planning decisions and planning documents are consistent with the provincial planning statement and conform or do not conflict with provincial plans. This is a Planning Act requirement, which has created the need for an incremental approach to provincial consistency. Given the significant number of legislative changes and the modifications to Ontario's land use planning framework, there are several aspects of the Livable Oakville Plan that are now out of date. In response, staff undertook a scoped provincial consistency review to address as many of these inconsistencies as possible before the end of 2025. The review focused primarily on Planning Act changes, the repeal of the Growth Plan, the new provincial planning statement, Conservation Authorities Act changes, the potential revocation of the Parkway Belt West Plan, and Halton Region's change in planning authority. There are elements of the Livable Oakville Plan that will require further amendment to align with provincial policy direction and legislation. However, this work is anticipated in 2026 and beyond through further review and the unification process into one official plan document. The statutory public meeting was held at Planning and Development Council on September 22nd, 2025. Staff received comments from council, including the following. And I'll go through all of these with a bit more explanation. So the first bullet is explore options to better define the word significant in the context of accommodating planned growth. So in this context, the term significant is undefined in provincial policy. The existing policy references to significant in Section 4, which is the Managing Growth and Change section of Livable Oakville, relate primarily to directing population and employment growth to protected major transit station areas, including Midtown and Bronte-Go MTSA. So significant in this context really means the change in population size and density, so population and employment of the area relative to other areas. Opportunities to provide more clarity through terminology will be assessed in this next phase of our official plan review. The second bullet, consider the addition of and reduce, so the additional policy text reads, and prepare for and reduce the impacts of a changing climate. So that's in reference to Section 10. Staff proposed to update the policy text of Section 10, sustainability, to reflect wording from Policy 2.9.1 of the PPS 2024 and include reference to reducing greenhouse gas emissions in alignment with provincial policy. Third bullet, review the criteria outlined in proposed new Parkway Belt West Section 19.1.4 in the context of protection for residential areas adjacent to Parkway Belt lands. Staff is of the opinion that the criteria outlined in the recommended new Section 19.1.4 is comprehensive, and the proposed subsection D requires the consideration of surrounding land uses and existing development context. A planning justification report would also be required as part of the official plan and zoning bylaw amendment submission, which provides a detailed professional planning rationale for the change, demonstrating how the proposal aligns with provincial policies and local planning documents. Fourth bullet, consider alternative land acknowledgement language specific to the official plan and explore approaches of other municipalities, including Toronto. So staff recognized that the town's current corporate land acknowledgement was not created specifically for this official plan, and note that the draft amendment proposed the land acknowledgement at the beginning of the Livable Oakville Plan document, so prior to the explanatory notes. This forms part of the non-operative section of the official plan, which can be updated at any time without formal amendment to the official plan. The town's Inclusion, Diversity, Equity, and Accessibility, or IDEA, multi-year plan includes a Truth and Reconciliation Action Plan. It is intended that this will provide direction around Indigenous engagement and inform future updates to the official plan. As a result, staff have removed the land acknowledgement in the recommended OPA 73 with the intention to bring forward a revised version in the future. Fifth bullet. Consider including community improvement plan and community planning permit system as tools for affordable housing in relation to Section 27610 Bronte Go MTSA. The townwide draft housing policies for incorporation into Livable Oakville Plan were presented to Council back on September 8th, 2025. The proposed new Section 7 housing includes policies to support affordability, outlining Planning Act tools such as the development of a community improvement plan and community planning permit system. These would apply to the Bronte Go MTSA. Public engagement on the draft policies is occurring right now, and there's an online survey available until November 7th. It is anticipated that a future amendment reflecting the proposed policies would be presented at a statutory public meeting by the end of this year. Comments were also received from the public and partner agencies. Some of the draft official plan schedules presented at the September 22nd statutory public meeting did not reflect the OPA 34 decision, given that a consolidation had not yet occurred. So the recommended OPA 73 schedules now reflect OPA 34 changes. Staff have received written comments from utility companies and property owners and a public delegation at the statutory public meeting. Staff have addressed these on pages 7 and 8 of the staff report. So changes to the OPA following the public meeting. A revised land acknowledgement is intended to be brought forward in the future following the conclusion of the town's Truth and Reconciliation Action Plan, which I have mentioned previously. This can be added to the official plan in a non-operative section without formal amendment. The second bullet shows a revision highlighted in yellow, proposed for Section 10 sustainability to further align with the PPS 2024. So the highlighted words, reduce greenhouse gas emissions, have been added to that proposed revision. And additional policies are proposed that reflect the new roles and responsibilities for the Town and Conservation Authority as a result of the CA Act changes. These are summarized on page 8 of the staff report. No change is being recommended to Section 1619C related to valley lands. While the CA Act increased the regulatory allowance in minor valley systems to 15 meters from 7.5 meters, and Conservation Halton has a regulatory allowance of 15 meters from the physical or stable top of bank, this is not a development limit. Conservation Halton's regulatory policy permits development activities up to 6 meters from the stable top of bank. Feedback and discussions with Conservation Halton have determined that further review and technical analysis are required to explore whether additional criteria may be warranted to support a reduction to the 15 meters for minor valleys to specifically address existing lots in the urban area. This will be included in the Natural Heritage Review as part of the future phase or our next phase of our OP review. As a result, staff are not recommending any change to the existing policy until that technical work and analysis is completed. Two revisions to bylaw 2025-119 are being recommended and are outlined in a memo circulated to council from staff today. The first is a formatting error in the complete communities definition. The word abilities was incorrectly struck out, and the revised bylaw 2025-119 attached to today's memo reflects no change to this word. So you can see here on the slide, previously abilities had the strikeout, and highlighted, you will see that no change is made to that word. The second is a recommended revision to the definition of urban area to remove reference to south of Highway 407. The recommended Schedule A2 identifies a portion of lands north of Highway 407 as urban to align with the regional official plan. The revised bylaw attached to today's memo reflects this. If OPA 73 is adopted by council, clerks is directed, as per bylaw 2025-119, to submit an exemption package to the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing. Following exemption, the adoption date will be considered the approval date, subject to any appeals received. Elements of the Livable Oakville Plan will require further amendment in the future to align with provincial policy direction and legislation. This work is anticipated in 2026 and beyond. Staff anticipate that there will be additional provincial legislation changes in the future, and as part of the OP review program, staff will respond to these. The town's existing OP review work program will continue, with new policy areas to also explore. A major component of the next phase of the OP review will be amalgamating the town's 3 official plans, Livable Oakville, the North Oakville East Secondary Plan, and Halton Region Official Plan, into a single unified official plan document, accounting for variations in current provincial consistency and alignment, and recognizing the new roles within municipal review. Staff make the following recommendation to council. That the staff report titled Recommendation Report, Town Initiated Official Plan Amendment 73, Bylaw 2025-119, Provincial Consistency Exercise be received. That Town Initiated Official Plan Amendment 73 be adopted. That Bylaw 2025-119, a bylaw to adopt an amendment to the Livable Oakville Plan, be passed. And that notice of council's decision reflects that council has fully considered all the written and oral submissions related to this matter, and that those comments have been appropriately addressed. This concludes my presentation, and I will open up to any comments. Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation, Ms. Dodds, and Councillor Elger will oblige you with your first question. Councillor Elger.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Burton. That was an excellent presentation, by the way. Congratulations. You nailed an awful lot of things. With what the town has on their hands right now, where the conservation authorities basically have been gutted of a lot of things they used to do, like they only can deal with natural hazards now. They can't deal with natural heritage or ecosystem health. Do we have adequate staff now at the town to handle these things? Or do we need additional staff? Because there a lot of things have changed because of what the province has dictated that we must do.
Councillor,
and the conservation authorities is one of those things. The other thing is we have no more regional planning. That was taken away from the region.
Councillor.
And as I look through at what our responsibilities are and what we're trying to do, I cannot figure out how we can do it with our existing staff and have the right, we got to have a lot of the correct people. Or as far as sustainability, we're going to go south.
Councillor, I don't think the staff tonight are prepared for any of those questions, and they strike me as a really good idea for a request for report. I wonder if you would consider that approach.
I absolutely would consider a request for report, because I think we've got a very dedicated staff. And if you read the report and the details, what they are facing and what they have faced over the last few years with all the changes, and I don't see it changing. And the Parkway Belt West plan has been there since 1978. It's blowing away basically. So now we have a heck of a lot of work to do there, where they're going to want to develop. Everything we're turning it, it's incremental now. We're not looking at things on a watershed basis as much. And this new provincial PPS 2024, basically it's just a pro-development framework. And then today I learned that the red light, what's it called, the red tape reduction now, is they threw in the speed cameras, for goodness sake. So I'm not sure where we're going with the province right now, but I don't like it. So I would absolutely like a request for report to come back from staff at the appropriate time.
Thank you. I'll be happy to collaborate with you in the writing of it over the next few days. Perfect. If you want to.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Chisholm.
Thank you, Your Worship. I mirror Councillor Elgar's comments with respect to with all the change we've made and how the FTEs are going to fall out on this, knowing full well, it's downsizing or side sizing, whatever you want to call it. There's more pressures on our staff to get these things through. And it is amazing how many documents that we had to get approved and cleaned up and catch up with the province on all their changes. The only question I've got, and I can add a little bit of pressure to staff, with the three the three official plans that we still haven't, the amalgamation of those, when would that be coming forward? I guess I direct that through you, Your Worship, to staff. When would that be coming forward to council?
Not tonight.
I hear you.
Ms. Dodds.
Through you, Mayor Burton, to the councillor. So the next phase of the OP review is scheduled to start at the beginning of next year, so 2026, and we anticipate that being a 2-year process, 2026 and 2027. And I will allow, I think, Mr. Charles, if he wants to add anything else in terms of timeframes, or Kirk, Mr. Bigger, in terms of more information about exactly that next work program. Thank you.
Thank you, Carly. Through you, Mayor Burton, to the councillor. So the work program will be comprehensive, and we'll be wrapping up our OP review in the next couple of years in the new term of council. So you'll be seeing that work come forward. Work is already underway, in fact, in terms of the technical work required to support that unification of all those plans, and other technical work to address some of the urban structure and other development issues that we're facing in the town.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Chisholm. Councillor O'Meara.
Thank you, Worship. Well, I appreciate the report, and then just would be happy to move it if everybody's done with their questions.
Thank you, Councillor O'Meara. I'm looking for a second to go with you. Councillor Chisholm, thank you for being so quick with your hand. Council, is there any objection? Mr. Clerk, I see no objection. The motion by Councillor O'Meara and Councillor Chisholm carries unanimously. Thank you, Council. Is there any new business of an emergency, congratulatory, or condolence nature? Councillor Nanda.
Thank you, through you, Mayor Burton. Firstly, I wanted to congratulate the Blue Jays from taking it from 6 to 7. So good luck to them tonight. And also today, I wanted to say that Oakville joins millions across Canada and around the world in celebrating Diwali and Bandi Chor Divas. Diwali, the Festival of Lights, the Hindu celebration of the return of Lord Rama, symbolizes the victory of light over darkness and good over evil, reminding us of the power of hope, renewal, and unity. Bandi Chor Divas, a treasured day in the Sikh faith, marks the return of Guru Har Gobind Sahib Ji and stands as a timeless reminder of freedom, compassion, and justice. May this festive season bring peace, prosperity, and happiness to all, and may the light of Diwali and the spirit of Bandi Chor Divas continue to guide us towards a brighter, more compassionate future. Wishing everyone a joyous and safe Diwali and Bandi Chor Divas. I would also like to invite my colleagues, staff, and all Oakville residents to the 3rd annual Diwali event at Town Hall this Sunday, October 26th from 12 to 4 p.m. I hope everyone will come out and enjoy the celebration. Thank you, Mayor Burton.
Thank you, Councillor Nanda. Very well said, and happy Diwali to everyone. I now look for a mover and seconder for consideration and reading of the bylaws for tonight. Councillor Elgar and Councillor Haslet-Deal, thank you. This is authority for the confirmatory bylaw and the Livable Oakville Plan bylaw. Any objection? Mr. Clerk, there being none, the bylaws are considered read and passed. And Council, that ends our work together tonight. And it was great working with you. I look forward to the next time. Apparently, that'll be as soon as next Monday. See you then, and good night.